Alright, so let's dive into the official Facebook ads guide. So in the first part of our Facebook ads guide, we're going to be going over the 5 reasons why you should be advertising on Facebook. Now the first reason you should be advertising on Facebook is obviously that it's going to increase the amount of web traffic that you get to your website. Because here's the thing, now in a source by Shareaholic, they were saying that Facebook drives more website traffic than any other social platform. And honestly, that shouldn't be really surprising either, considering the fact that Facebook is one of the biggest social media platforms out there. I mean, it's bigger than Twitter, it's bigger than Instagram, it's bigger than a lot of these other platforms. So it makes sense that they're driving a lot of web traffic and a lot of people are already on Facebook. And another thing that's important too is that getting eyeballs on your website is essential to growing an online business, because ultimately you can have the nicest website there is, you can have the best product there is, but if you don't have eyeballs on your website, if people are not aware of the fact that you exist, then all of that good stuff is for absolutely nothing. So first and foremost is that you want to get eyeballs on your website, and Facebook is a great way for driving website traffic to your website. So the second reason why you should be advertising on Facebook is that it can really help to build your email list. Now, if you've been marketing for any length of time, you probably heard this phrase that goes, the money is in the list, and Facebook is really good at helping you to generate leads. As a matter of fact, Facebook has a special type of ad unit called a lead ad, and allows you to collect information from your prospects or your target market without them having to leave Facebook, which is extremely powerful. Obviously, after you go and you collect their information from utilizing the lead ad, you can go and you can follow up with them on the back end, and you can sell them additional products or services and just make a whole bunch of money as a result of that. So the third reason, which actually brings me to the third reason for why you need to be advertising on Facebook, is that it's going to help you generate a lot more sales in your business. So you can get your product in front of a bigger audience. Like I was saying previously, Facebook is one of the largest social media platforms out there. I believe right now it's about just around 2 billion or so people, 2 billion active users per month. So there's chances are there's somebody within your target market on Facebook. And if you're doing e-commerce as well, a typical ROI for an e-commerce store is 158%, and the source of that is Adweek. So if you are selling physical products on the internet, then you should definitely consider looking into Facebook to put your product in front of more people. Now, the fourth reason for why you need to be advertising on Facebook is that it can help with actually increasing your SEO rankings. Now, SEO is short for search engine optimization. So here's the thing, so when you share your content on social media, what happens is that it creates social signals for the search engines. So you might be wondering, okay, so what exactly is a social signal? So a social signal just refers to the collective amount of shares, likes, and overall social media visibility as perceived by the search engines. So if you're sharing like a blog post, let's say like on Facebook, and that blog post and that post that you're sharing that has a link to your blog, like let's say it's getting like a lot of likes, a lot of comments, a lot of shares, the search engines, I should say, they're able to notice that. They're able to notice when you're getting a lot of good traction on social media, and by that they're able to see your content as being more relevant, especially if your article is already SEO optimized. So like I was saying, increased social signals help to demonstrate a web page's value. Now, the fifth reason for why you need to be advertising on Facebook is that you can actually measure your performance in real time when you run your advertising campaign. So it's cool because you can actually keep a constant pulse on how your campaign is performing, as opposed to like traditional advertising. Like you can make adjustments at the touch of a button. So if you have a campaign that's running and you don't like how it's performing, all you have to do is just flick a switch and it turns off, no questions asked. Now, this is very difficult to do with traditional forms of advertising like TV, video, print, etc., which usually involves a much more complicated process, and it could be weeks, if not months, until you can tell whether or not you're getting an ROI on that investment. Now, in this part, we're going to be going over the 5 myths about Facebook ads. Now, the first myth regarding Facebook ads is that you should retarget all of your website visitors. So here's the problem with that. You see that your visitors are going to be at different stages of the buying process. You're going to have visitors on your website that are just meeting you for the first time, and you're also going to have people that are visiting your website that have already been to your website many times before. Maybe these people has even bought a product from you at some point. So when you go and you do a retargeting campaign and you just do a blanket retargeting campaign, retargeting everybody at once, what happens is it kind of dilutes the message a bit. It's not as effective as it could be. So the key thing here is that the more precise that you can be with your messaging, the better that your campaign is going to perform. Now, the second myth regarding Facebook ads is that the relevance scores is the most important metric. Now, don't get me wrong, relevance score is important, but here's the thing. The most important metric you should be focusing on is your KPI, which is short for your key performance indicator. That's the most important metric when it comes to running your Facebook ads. Because here's the thing, relevance scores is more so of a secondary metric. Because if, let's say, actually, before I go to the next myth, I just want to break something down. So let's say you're running a Facebook ad and you're getting a really low relevance score, but you see that your ads are performing within your KPI. So in that scenario, you don't want to go and try to change things around just because you have a low relevance score. Now, on the other hand, if your ads aren't performing well and you do have a low relevance score, then that adds more credibility to that relevance score being low. So like I said, focus more so on your KPIs and use the relevance score more so as a secondary metric. So yes, so the next myth regarding Facebook ads is that manual bidding is better than automatic bidding. Now, I can tell you that manual bidding is a lot more time consuming than automatic bidding, because you're going to run into a situation where you're going to have to constantly be updating your bid as much as several times per day just to make sure that you're spending your budget properly. Where if you use automatic bidding, it's a bit of a more of a hands-off approach, and you're allowing the Facebook algorithm to determine how it should spend your budget. So here's the thing, Facebook is a lot more efficient at adjusting your bids than you are. Facebook has hundreds if not thousands of data points that it can draw upon. There's just no way you're going to be able to compete against that type of power. So in more cases and more often than not, you're better off letting Facebook adjust your bids for you. So this brings us to the next tip, which is, the next myth, myth number 4 is that you need a huge budget to run Facebook ads. And you probably heard it from like some of these gurus and stuff. Some of them say you need $20 a day, $50 a day, $100 a day, some kind of nonsense like that. And I can tell you with my own personal experience to back this up, that you can advertise on Facebook with as little as $5 per day. Now, obviously, if you have a $5 per day budget, you can't expect to get like hundreds if not thousands of results. That's a bit unrealistic. You're going to get the number of results in direct correlation to the size of your budget, among other things that Facebook looks at, of course. But you can always start off with $5 a day and then build yourself up from there. And another thing that's important too is that having a huge budget doesn't necessarily guarantee success. You could have a really huge budget, but if you're not good at advertising, if you're not targeting the right people, if you don't have a really compelling offer, these things are going to count a lot more than just having a huge budget. So yes, you need to have money in order to advertise on Facebook, but just having a huge budget isn't going to be the be all end all for you. Now, myth number 5, running Facebook ads is easy. I can tell you, this drives me crazy, the fact that people think that Facebook ads is easy. I can tell you that Facebook ads is easy to learn, because ultimately there's just a few things like understanding the mechanics. That's a pretty easy part about Facebook ads, but it's hard to master because ultimately you're advertising. It requires skill just like anything else. It requires understanding your target market. It requires being able to write persuasive ad copy, adjusting your campaign when things aren't working as well as you would like it to. All of these things require skill, so the idea is that a lot of things can go wrong with a campaign if you don't really know what you're doing. So you really want to make sure that you give yourself time to learn the ad platform. If learning Facebook ads is something you want to devote time to, you have to realize that it's not something you're just going to figure out all in one day. It's going to require time and effort and testing things until you can get things working at a consistent level. Now we're going to be going over the 5 common mistakes people make with the Facebook ads. Now, the first mistake that people make when it comes to the Facebook ads is having a really boring ad creative. Now, having a boring ad creative can really hurt your chance at succeeding with Facebook ads. Because the thing is, if you're not standing out in the news feeds, chances are you're going to be ignored. You don't want to be looking like everybody else on Facebook, because if you look like everybody else, then nobody has any real reason to pay attention to you. So it's very important that you find a way to make yourself stand out in the news feed, and a large part of that comes from having a really interesting creative. So like I said, stop doing what everybody else is doing. It's better to be different than it is to be better. Now, the second big mistake that a lot of people make with the Facebook ads is poor audience targeting. very just poor audience targeting. Because the thing is, poor audience targeting is like trying to sell a steak to a vegan. Now, it doesn't matter if you've cooked the best possible steak ever. I mean, you could be a world-renowned chef, have Michelin restaurants, the whole 9 yards. But I'm telling you, if you try to sell a steak to a vegan, it just will not happen. It doesn't matter who you are, what you do, you cannot sell a steak to a vegan. And that's pretty much the same idea when it comes to poor audience targeting. You want to make sure that you're targeting the right people, the people who are best suited for your product. They can identify with the problem that it solves, or you can help them alleviate some type of pain that they have. Targeting the right audience is super important. Like I said, you want to make sure that you're showing your ads to the right people, because that's ultimately going to determine your success. The next big mistake that people make with their Facebook ads is not using the Facebook Pixel. So the Facebook Pixel helps you to uncover deep insights about your audience. It's this little piece of code that you can install on your website, and as people go to your website, they're able to track the information and figure out exactly which ads are working the best and which ads should you either change or just stop using at all. So another thing that's cool about the Facebook Pixel is that it helps you with building a retargeting audience. So to put retargeting in a nutshell, like, have you ever visited a website, like you was looking at a product 1 minute and then all of a sudden you just started seeing that product everywhere, no matter where you go, when you're just going on different websites and stuff? That's pretty much how retargeting works. And Facebook's Pixel allows you to retarget people on their platform. So if somebody visits your website and they don't buy for the first time, you can still follow up with them and get them to make that buying decision. So another thing too, it helps with optimizing with the delivery of your ad campaigns. Like I said before, by being able to uncover those deep insights about your audience, you're able to go and make changes that have a high likelihood of affecting your campaign for the better. Now, the next big mistake that people make with their Facebook ads is having really weak headlines. Having a weak headline. You see, a headline is going to determine whether or not your audience will read the rest of your ad. Now, there was a statistics once that said that 5 times as many people read the headline than read the body copy. I'm not sure how true that is or not, but you can suffice it to say that having a really good headline does make a huge difference in whether or not somebody goes on to read the rest of your ad. And so, like I said, 5 times as many people read the headline than the body copy. So the thing is, your headline, it has to be able to entice, engage, and capture your audience's attention. And I know that sounds like quite a lot, but that's honestly how important the headline is. If you can just get really good at headlines and not work on anything else, you're going to see a dramatic increase in your sales. So it's definitely well worth the effort to get good at writing headlines, whether it's for your Facebook ads or for your emails or for your videos. It doesn't matter where. There's always going to be some type of headline element that you can optimize, so that way you can get more people to pay attention to yourself. Now, the fifth big mistake that people make with their Facebook ads is setting and forgetting their campaigns. Because here's the thing, launching your campaign, just putting it together, putting the ad copy together, the ad sets, all that good stuff, putting that together is only half the battle. The other half is that you have to be able to tweak your campaign and make the necessary adjustments. That way it starts to perform at a consistent level. It's very rare that your campaign is just going to perform well out of the gate. It may need some type of tweaking, so that way you can start to see those consistent results and make that consistent money. Alright, so we just finished going over the 5 most common mistakes people make with the Facebook ads. And now in this section, we're going to be going over the campaign structure when it comes to creating ads on Facebook. Now, when it comes to creating a Facebook ad campaigns, you have to be aware that there's 3 distinct levels within your ad campaign. So the first level is the campaign level. So the campaign level is the highest level of your campaign, and this is where you pretty much set the overall objective for that campaign. After the campaign level is the ad set level. This is where you focus more so on like the placement, on the targeting, things of that nature. And then finally you have the ad level, is where you actually go about creating the ads. Alright, so let's talk about the campaign level first. So the campaign level is the topmost level of any Facebook ad campaign. This is also the level where you set your campaign budget. So if you are doing CPO, CPO will be actually going into more detail in a future post. But if you are doing CPO, this is where you would go and you would set your campaign budget, which is either a daily budget or a lifetime budget. There are also 13 ad objectives in total, because at the campaign level is where you set the ad objectives. You could choose between 13, and we'll be going over all 13 ad objectives in a future post as well, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Alright, so in this section we're going to go over the ad set level. Now the ad set level is going to have different options available depending on the ad objective that you choose. However, most ad sets are going to contain these 3 particular sections, which is what we'll be focusing on. The first section is going to be the audience, next is the placement, and finally there's a budget and schedule. So let's talk about the audience first. Now in this section, you're defining exactly who you want to see your ads, because ultimately when we're advertising an ad platform, we should have a good idea in our heads who it is we want to add it. So like who is in your target market. So at a basic level, you can target people by their age, by their location, or by their gender, if they're male or female. And you can also leverage detailed targeting, where you can target people by the demographics, their interests, as well as their behaviors. Next we have is placements. Now placements is where you define where your ads get shown. So you can choose whether to show your ads on mobile or desktop. And there's also 4 platforms in particular where your ads can appear. So obviously there's a Facebook ad platform, because we are advertising on Facebook. There's also Instagram, which is owned by Facebook. And then there's the Audience Network, which is a collection of websites and apps that show Facebook ads. And then there's Messenger. So you can either manually set your placement, where you can choose you want to show your ads, let's say only on Facebook or just Facebook and Instagram, or you can allow Facebook to set your placements for you. And when you allow them to set it for you, usually what will happen is Facebook will go and they will show your ads. They will help spend your budget most efficiently, while making sure your ad gets shown to as many people as possible. But when you go and you set the placement yourself, sometimes your ads may under deliver. So that's something that you want to keep in mind. Next we have the section budget and schedule, and this is essentially as the name implies, you set the start and the end date for that particular ad set. And you can also set a minimum spend limit, because when you're using CBO, what happens is you notice that your budget will tend to go towards 1 or 2 assets, and it will spend very little on the others. So you can set a minimum spend limit to make sure that you spend a certain amount of your campaign budget within that particular asset. Maybe you have a particular reason why you may want to do that, so that option is available to you. So next, finally, we have the ad level, and this is where you're able to go and you start creating your ads for your campaign, and you're allowed to create up to 50 ads per ad set. But each campaign as a whole can have a maximum of 5,000 ads. So within you're creating your ads, you have something called identity. And in this section, you're able to choose the Facebook page and the Instagram page that best represents your business when you're running your ads. Now keep in mind, you cannot run Facebook ads without a Facebook page. You have to have a Facebook page. That's absolutely critical. Next is the ad creation section. In this section, this is actually where you go and you start actually work on the ad. You're able to choose either image or video. You can write the ad copy. You choose a website URL if you're trying to send people to a particular place on your website. All of this gets done in the ad creation section. And if you have a previous page post that you want to use as an ad, you can also do that as well, provided that it follows the advertising policy. So for instance, if let's say you have a previous post on your Facebook page and there's a lot of text on it, there's a chance that it won't get accepted as an ad, because Facebook prefers when an image has as little text as possible, or even no text would be the most ideal situation. So next is also tracking, and with tracking you're able to activate this setting if you have the Facebook Pixel installed on your website. So I'm not really going to go over how to install the Facebook Pixel. There's articles that where you can look that up, but you want to make sure that you have the Pixel installed, and from there you're able to track exactly how people are interacting on your website. So you can be able to track conversions, and you're able to build on retargeting audiences. So let's say if somebody visits a particular web page on your site, you can follow up with them later with a retargeting ad, either reminding them or maybe targeting them with a different offer that they may be interested in. So next we have the Facebook audiences, which is the next section we'll be talking about in this Facebook Ads Guide. So essentially there's 3 types of audiences that you can target on Facebook. You have the saved audience, custom audience, and the lookalike audience. So we're going to tackle each one of these one by one. So we're going to start off first with the saved audience. So a saved audience essentially just composed of different demographics and behaviors, interests that you are saving for future use. That's why it's called a saved audience. So this comes in handy in case you want to use that audience for a different campaign later on. And let's say you're able to put some demographics and some interests and behaviors together that really works for you. You save it as a saved audience and you can just reuse it. So you don't have to just create it all over again from scratch. So next we have, which is a custom audience, which this is an audience of people who have already interacted with your business in the past, whether it's like visiting your website or watching a video, interact with your app. This is where your custom audience comes into play. And essentially, in order to create a custom audience, you need some type of source where you're able to pull that custom audience out of. And those can be divided into 2 different groups, which is called your sources and Facebook sources. So the different categories for your sources includes, like I said before, your website, app activity if you have a mobile app, your customer list like your email list, or offline activity like if you have a brick and mortar store and you're able to track people that take offline events, such as giving you a phone call, walking into your store, things of that nature. And next we have, which is called Facebook sources. Facebook sources includes videos, so you can retarget people based off like how much of a video they watch, whether it's like 25%, 50%, 75%, etc. You can retarget people based off your Instagram business profile, like depending on if they liked or engaged with your Instagram in any way. Also lead forms, people that have filled out a lead form or clicked on it. Events, some people that have attended or responded to some of your events, some instant experience, which is actually a particular ad format we'll be talking about in a future video, as well as your Facebook page as well. People that have like engaged with your Facebook page, either liking a post, saving a post, things like that. And then finally we have what's called lookalike audiences. So a lookalike audience is pretty much an audience of people that are similar to the people that have interacted with your business in the past. And you can use easily like your Facebook pixel, a custom audience like we were talking about previously, or your Facebook page as a source to create your lookalike audience. Now, in order to determine the size of the lookalike audience, you need to choose a percentage of a country's total population from 1% to 10%. So that's the interesting thing about creating a lookalike audience. You take a source that you want to base that lookalike audience off of, and then you choose a particular country to create that lookalike audience, and that's where the percentages comes in. So next we have Audience Insights. So with Audience Insights, it's this tool that Facebook created that provides essentially aggregate and anonymous information about the people on this website. So it's really useful, like as an advertiser, is that it allows you to gain a very deep understanding of your audience's demographics, such as their gender, their marital status, education, things of that nature. And also helps with determining what your audience may be interested in and what may appeal to them within an advertising campaign. So it's a very useful tool. I highly recommend checking out. Next, we're going to be talking about here the Facebook Pixel. And what the Facebook Pixel is, in a nutshell, is just a small piece of code that you install onto your website. That's all it is. And what it does is it helps with tracking conversions and building retargeting audiences. So as you utilize your Pixel and you got traffic coming to your website, your Pixel begins to get smarter and it begins to figure out over time who's an ideal customer for you. So it's very important. You'll hear this term called training your Pixel. And that's essentially what that means. You want to continue to feed data into your Pixel so that way it can find the people that are most likely to do business with you. Now, coming up next, we're going to be going over the 12 types of Facebook ads. We already kind of touched on it a little bit here in this Facebook ads guide video, but in the next video, we're really going to dive deep and we're going to break down each of the types of Facebook ads that you can use on the Facebook platform. So definitely stay tuned for that within the next 2 weeks. Now, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, definitely highly recommend just hitting that subscribe button and plus hitting the bell icon. That way you can be part of the notification squad and you can stay tuned for when that next video comes out. And also, I just want to thank you for watching. You're going to see 2 videos appear where these are just going to be related videos on my channel that you may be interested in. I highly recommend giving them a check out and seeing if it's something that floats your boat. This is Jacob Aguirre. I just want to say thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Hope you got value out of this. Hope it kind of gave you some direction as far as like understanding Facebook ads. I think it's a super powerful platform, and when you're able to leverage it properly and really get a handle on things, it can really produce this serious ROI for your business. So anyway, that's enough for my rambling. Hope you got value out of this video, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.